Hello, everyone. This is Venerable Thich Quang Tree on Dharma Tree, and you're listening to Dharma on Demand. So, we are, of course, continuing our journey on the Eightfold Path, and today we'll be discussing the fourth path, which is right action or samyak karmanta in Sanskrit. So, right action means right action of the body and refraining from unwholesome deeds that occur with the body as their natural means of expression. So, the Buddha did mention three components of right action, which are abstaining from taking life, abstaining from taking what is not given, and abstaining from sexual misconduct. So, the first component, which is abstaining from taking life, the Buddha quotes, "Herein someone avoids the taking of life and abstains from it. Without stick or sound, conscience is full of sympathy. He is desirous of the welfare of all sentient beings." So, abstaining from taking life has, of course, a wider application here than simply just refraining from taking or killing other human beings. So, the precept does enjoin abstaining from taking life or killing any sentient being. So, a sentient being is a living being that's endowed with mind or consciousness. So, for practical purposes, this just means human beings, animals, and insects. So, the taking in life that is to be avoided is the intentional killing, the deliberate destruction of life of a being that's endowed with consciousness. So the principle is grounded in the consideration that all beings love life and fear death, that all seek happiness and are all averse to pain. So the essential determinant of transgression here is the volition to kill, right? The intention to kill, assuming that assuming in an action that deprives a being of life, right? So in most cases, suicide is also considered or generally regarded as a volition, but not accidental killing, as the intention to destroy life is absent. So the abstinence may be taken to apply two kinds of action, right? Primary and secondary. The primary is the actual destruction of life, and the secondary is the deliberately harming or even torturing another being without actually killing it. So, the positive counterpart to abstaining from taking life, as the Buddha indicates, is the development of kindness and compassion for other beings, right? It is the disciple not only avoids destroying life, but he dwells with a heart full of sympathy, desiring the welfare of all beings. And we can practice this by practicing metta or loving kindness meditation or practices. And then the second component is abstaining from taking what is not given. And the Buddha quotes, "He avoids taking what is not given and abstains from it. What another person possesses of goods and cattle in the village or in the wood, that he does not take away with thievish intent." So, taking what is not given means appropriating the rightful belongings of others with a thievish intent. So if one takes something that has no owner, such as unclaimed stones, wood, or even, gems that are extracted from the earth, the act does not count as a volition, even though those objects have not been given. But it also implies as a what but also is implied as a transgression is withholding from others what should rightfully be given to them. So there are a number of ways in which taking what is not given can be committed, right? Like stealing, fraudulence, deceitfulness, etc. But the positive counterpart to abstaining from stealing is, of course, honesty, which implies the respect for the belongings of others and for their right to use their belongings as they wish, right? So the most eminent positive virtue is generosity, which is giving away one's own wealth and possessions in order to benefit others. And the last component is abstaining from sexual misconduct. And the Buddha quotes, "He avoids sexual misconduct and abstains from it. He has no intercourse with such persons as are still under the protection of father, mother, brother, sister, or relatives, nor with married women nor with female convicts, nor lastly with betrothed girls. So the guiding principle of this precept, though, from the ethical standpoint, are to protect marital relations from outside disruption and to promote trust and fidelity within the marital union. So from the spiritual standpoint, though, it helps curb the extensive tendency of sexual desire, and it's thus a step in the direction of renunciation, which reaches its consummation in the observance of celibacy, binding on monks and nuns. But for lay people, the precept enjoins abstaining from sexual relations with an illicit partner, right? The primary transgression is entering into full sexual union, but all other sexual involvements of a less complete kind may be considered secondary infringements. But the main question raised by the precept concerns who is to count as an illicit partner, right? And so we have a list here, which they are a man or a woman that is married or couples that are recognized as being in a relationship or acknowledged as partners. The second is individuals that are still under the protection of parents or guardians, right? Those are that are minors or underage. Third are men or women prohibited by convention, right? This includes close relatives, forbidden as partners by social tradition, those prohibited as partners by the law of the land, and those under the vow of celibacy. Besides these, of course, any case of forced, violent, or corrosive sexual union constitutes as a transgression as well. So, unlike with the illicit partners, both people are in a violation, whereas the former, the violation falls only on the offender and not on the one that is compelled to submit. The positive virtue corresponding to the abstinence is, for lay people at least, is marital fidelity. So, significant others should, of course, each be faithful and devoted to the other. The principle does not, however, confine sexual relations to the marital union. The essential purpose is to prevent sexual relations which are harmful to others, right? So it is flexible enough to allow for variations depending on social convention, of course. But ordained monks and nuns, including men and women who have undertaken the 8 or 10 precepts, are obliged to observe celibacy, right? They must abstain not only from sexual misconduct, but from all sexual involvements, right? At least during the period of their vows. So the holy life at its highest aim is to have complete purity in thought, word, and deed. And this requires turning back the tide of sexual desire. So that we can see so far, as we've been discussing for the Eightfold Path, right, that everything that the Buddha taught us is fairly practical, right? They are not means that are beyond our control or beyond our will to do, right? It really just we have to put in the effort and the discipline in order to follow these practices, in order to actually apply them in our life, because that is going to be the only way that it'll start to be ingrained in our mind and our consciousness. That way we will do these wholesome things, habitually, versus having to kind of stop and think about it, or think about it after you've already transgressed something, right? So one of the good things about these practices, again, is their practicality, right? So it's nothing that we have to really force to remember to do. It's just being mindful of what's happening, not only in our own minds and in our own lives, but with lives around us as well, right? Because we're all creatures of habits, and we are very reactionary, right? Sometimes we react to things almost instantly without really thinking about it. And so it's because of that we get in trouble sometimes with ourselves and with others. And so if we were to practice mindfulness more more regularly, then we would be able to apply mindfulness in everything that we think and we say and we do. And if we're able to do that, we're able to be aware of our thoughts and actions. and to make a instant decision whether they are wholesome or unwholesome. That way we know if they are wholesome, that then we can continue with doing what we are trying to do. And if they're unwholesome, that gives us the opportunity to stop and to really analyze the situation and what's going on and how we're thinking and feeling, and really be able to turn that unwholesomeness into something that is wholesome. So that is the fourth of the Eightfold Path. So I hope you enjoyed it. As usual, if there are ever any questions, concerns, or emotional outbursts, feel free to reach out, leave a comment, send a message, whatever your favorite means of communication are, and I will happily try to answer them. Thank you for listening. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.